A friend asked me to make a video sharing my opinions about what's been going on with John Jones this past week. For those who don't know, this is the light heavyweight champion of the UFC, or I should say previous, because his title has now been stripped from him. Earlier this week, or a few days back, he was involved in a hit and run accident. He crashed a rental car and fled from the scene. And everybody suspects that he fled from the scene because he was probably high on cocaine. I had made a previous video about John Jones, it wasn't too long ago actually, that he went into rehab for cocaine use after he turned up hot on a blood test before one of his fights. And at that time, what it really looked like was that he had gone to Brazil and partied a little bit, and then came back home to finish off his training before the fight, and tested positive for the cocaine on a drug test. And so the UFC was willing to forgive him and just send him to rehab and pass the fight. But they didn't strip him of his title, and they didn't suspend him from the organization. And at that time, I kind of felt like they should have been a little bit more harsh with him. It did look like he just went to a party and then went to party a little bit down in Brazil, and then it's definitely like forgivable and everything, but they have to have the same standards, I think, for everybody. So if somebody that wasn't selling as many tickets as John Jones was had tested positive for coke, I'm betting that person would have been suspended from the organization. In fact, even like I think Nick Diaz has been suspended a couple of times from the organization just for testing positive for weed, which is nothing compared to cocaine. So, my opinion of it is that they probably could have helped him more, actually, if instead of being so forgiving to their superstar, they'd have cracked down a little bit on him and made him clean up his act before he was able to return to the organization or return to defend his title or what have you. I just don't think they were hard enough to begin with. And so really when this happened, this last few days, I'm not really surprised, because they didn't give him any strong encouragement to make changes in his life. He didn't have to face his problem yet, and obviously he's got an addictions problem with the cocaine. So, and that's not something that you want to have for the light heavyweight champion or any of the champion belt owners in the UFC. These guys should be high-end athletes and role models, and for someone to be partying like that, I just think it's disrespecting the role that he has. And my friend had compared him to Mike Tyson. Thinking back at the Mike Tyson years when he kind of went off the rails, and yeah, it kind of looks like that. I mean, I don't consider John Jones to be anywhere near having the level of fame and pressure and stuff that Tyson did. But yeah, it is a case where somebody is their life is going off the rails, and now it's come to the point where he's facing felony charges. He might be going to jail, in the same way that Tyson did. So, and I think if he did, that would be a good thing for him. At this point, he needs to get himself cleaned up. He needs to do some soul searching, like he said himself on his Twitter. And I don't think he should duck. He should duck or be allowed to get out of the the legal bind that he's in, I think that would be part of helping him recover. So, will we see this guy come back into the UFC organization and um, be what he was before? You know, I don't know. I don't think so. I think he might come back to UFC, but I think once somebody has self sabotage like this, um, they'll never be like he's never going to be viewed as the role model and athlete that people were looking at him as. Even if he remains, a high contender within the UFC somewhere time down the road. But we'll see when that happens, or if that happens. I don't want to do much speculating, and I don't want to judge the guy either. I just think he has, like all of us, he's got stuff he needs to deal with in his life. But if all of us were in the position where we were supposed to be role models and high-end athletes in the public eye, I think the expectations of us, just like they are of him, would be high. And he's not living up to those expectations. So right now he just needs to take a step down and deal with his legal issues and deal with his addictions issue. And then we'll see where he goes from there. So good luck to Jon Jones. I wish him all the best. And that's about as much as I've got to say about it.